am running for office today because it is my duty to serve my people. Because the 14th Amendment that guarantees citizens life, liberty, and property, and the 15th Amendment that guarantees the right to vote are in constant jeopardy. Our lives are sacred, as is the vote. Lynching continues because our humanity has been called into question. Those of you who have read my articles, you know that my pen is as mighty as the sword. I have always been and will continue to be your instrument. As your senator, I will have a stronger hold on the levers of justice. Yes, I am an agitator, but only where wrongs need to be put right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming here to support me here today. Everyone, please help yourself to some refreshments. And thank you again. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Mrs. Wells Barnett.
Hi, dear.
Hi, I'm Bertha Williamson.
Oh,
It's an honor to make your acquaintance, ma'am.
likewise.
I've been a follower of yours for a great many years now. Excuse me, I'm just a little nervous.
Don't be nervous.
If you have a moment, I'd like to talk to you about the 1919 Arkansas riots. My father was there, Simon Williamson. He was one of the Arkansas 12.
Oh, yes, yes, dear. You should be very proud of your father. You know, he, along with a brave group of colored men, refused to be cheated out of their earnings by the cotton share. They tried to kill them for standing up for themselves. Then they charged them with murder and accused them of starting the bloodiest race riot to ever happen in Arkansas.
Daddy said hundreds of colored men were killed, women and children as well.
Yeah, well, the real bloodshed came when 5 whites were killed. The National Guard was sent for, but they took up hunting Negroes along with the white mob.
My daddy said they were holding a secret meeting in the early hours before dawn. He and the other sharecroppers, thank you. He and the other sharecroppers were determined to join the Progressive Union, where they would demand a fair count of the money that they received for their cotton crops.
Well, you see, Southern plantation owners were not used to giving an account to the sharecroppers. They wanted to keep the profits for themselves. They said the sharecroppers owed them for goods and food and clothing and shelter they provided. This Progressive Negroes Farmer Union were a noble group of Negro men, but they were considered a dangerous threat because they had armed men at their meetings for protection. See, Southern plantation owners were already nervous with black men returning home from the war. They outnumbered whites 10 to 1, and an organized Negro Union was considered contrary to a white Southerner's way of life. They feared insurrection and really wanted Negroes dead, submissive, or just gone.
I heard it happened so fast. Nobody knew who started it. One white man was killed and another wounded, and then hundreds of whites came to defend.
Whites of a low-down variety started the bloody massacre. No Negro was safe. Some think as many as 800 Negroes were killed.
I read an article that said the NAACP had won a victory for the Arkansas 12. Not true, Daddy said. If it hadn't been for you, he'd be 6 feet under. I hope you don't mind me asking you about this.
No, not at all. It's important history. Going to Arkansas, that was my first visit south after a 30-year absence.
Daddy said you risked your life coming to visit the Arkansas 12. I can't thank you enough. I'd like to know more about you.
Well, coming back to Arkansas, it scared me. But we just had to make it work. I wanted Negroes to know what it meant to be important. Your father, he and the other Negro men, they were courageous. And they fought for justice.
Did you do any additional writings that I may recognize?
Yes. Back in 1892, my life had been threatened. because I wrote an article about Negroes being lynched. Now, after I wrote that article, I traveled to New York City, so I didn't know my life had been threatened. Some friends of mine wrote me saying they spotted a gunman at the station whenever a train from the north was due to arrive. A mob of white men marched into my offices, demolished the printing press, and set the building on fire. That same mob gave notice that I would be lynched if I were to ever set foot again in Memphis.
Why do you think what you wrote made them so angry?
Because I wrote the truth. Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Henry Stewart were my friends. They were lynched March 9th, 1892 in Memphis. They had committed no crime. They were envied for owning a successful grocery store on the same street opposite a white-owned grocery store. Well, their brutal murders opened my eyes to my new mission in life. I spent 2 months traveling from Texas to Virginia, investigating other lynchings. I interviewed both whites and blacks to get to the truth of this national evil. There were 150 lynchings in 1892. Well, I published the records of these murders in my pamphlet, Southern Horrors, Lynch Laws in All Its Phases.
You were very bold to write about lynching. I read an article where you also wrote about black Romeos and white Juliets.
It was actually J.C. Duke who first wrote it. Well, I quoted him in my newspaper, but I had taken it further than he had by stating that none of us believe the old threadbare lie that Negro men assault white women. For an example, I published the facts about an innocent Negro man in Tunica County, Mississippi, who was accused of raping a 7-year-old girl. Truth was, this 7-year-old child was an adult white woman who had gone to this black man's cabin of her own accord. Well, when her father discovered this, he set out with a lynch mob to hang this black man to save his daughter's reputation. You see, we couldn't receive justice when accused of criminal conduct in Memphis. In Memphis, judges and law officers were known to be active members in the Ku Klux Klan. Lynch law was a way to demonstrate white supremacy. Well, I wanted to keep the memory of my friends at the forefront of my newspaper. I quoted my friend Thomas Moss, who said, if we can't receive respect or justice in Memphis, then we should just leave Memphis. I also reported the facts that Negroes could lead better quality lives if they moved west to Oklahoma. You see, hundreds of Negroes had boycotted white businesses at the urging of my newspaper. Then they migrated west. Then the Negro League Fellowship wrote a letter to then Governor Brown of Arkansas concerning the Arkansas 12 prisoners, warning him that we could persuade Negroes to leave Arkansas. Now, the governor knew that if more Negroes were to follow suit, it would put an end to cheap labor and severely crumble Arkansas's already wobbly economy. Now, I went to the prisons to give courage and hope to these prisoners. I asked each of the men to give me an account of what they saw occurring during the race riot. I published their stories in Chicago, and I distributed the messages to the other press. And the other men came, and the NAACP took on their defense and successfully secured their release through clever legal strategy and public sympathy. Now, people always ask me, weren't you afraid to go to the South? I mean, a woman traveling alone by herself, you risk your life going down south. Well, I was too angry to be afraid. Now, about the lynchings, I was horrified. But I wanted people to know what lynching really was. It was an excuse to get rid of Negroes who had acquired wealth and property. Now, going back to the start of it all, my life, my destiny was determined by the yellow fever, a plague in 1878. It was deadly. It took my mother, my then infant baby brother, and finally my father. You know, at 16 years old, I had to grow up real fast to keep our family intact. You see, my father's closest friend was his Mason brother, Uncle Cyrus. when he gathered the Masons together to determine what should be done with the 6 of us children.
The yellow fever was a plague, but now you're making it a test, Uncle Cyrus.
My dear child, you must face reality. You have no choice.
Free persons always have liberty to choose. My mama and daddy taught me that.
Yes, rest their souls. They have gone on to a blessed freedom in heaven. But here in Hollis Springs, you're going to have to abide by the decision.
No, Uncle, I will not. You are not going to split my brothers and sisters up like orphans. I will not let you send little Eugenia away.
Eugenia is a cripple. None of the Masons can take her. Now, the poorhouse is the best place for her. She'll be with her kind.
You are mistaken. There are no wells at that institution. Our parents don't allow that word in our home. We call Eugenia special. She is a Wells like us. We are her kind.
The poor child can't walk, Ida. Now, you can call her what you want, but the truth is as plain as day. She's a crippled lady.
Our Eugenia is gifted and a joy to love.
The Masons have taken up a vote. We try to be gentle with you children. We understand that you are still grieving over your parents' death. But you should show some gratitude that we decided to take you in. Your father was our highest ranking lodge officer, and we want to honor him. Now, it's because of that you won't be orphaned like the rest of them because of this yellow fever.
I know you all have the best intentions, but you just have the wrong notion. Jim and Elizabeth Wells have raised a close family. They'd be turning in their graves to hear you talk about splitting us up.
Ida, you're talking foolish. None of us can afford to care for the whole lot of you.
That's understood. We'll be fine, sir. You needn't trouble yourself on our account any further.
You are about as stubborn as a mule. Grieving or not, I will not tolerate this contrary. The decision's been made. James, George, get your things together and help the little ones. We'll be leaving here shortly.
James, George, you stay right where you are. Uncle Cyrus, I reckon it's time for you to go now. It's been a long day. James, George, children, gather around. Gather around. Now don't you children cry or look so scared and troubled. You know God will always make a way out of no way. I have an old letter from Daddy. He said he's going to give $300 to Dr. Gray for safekeeping. As soon as we can, we're going to go and visit Granny and Shelby. We're going to get our money, and we're going to make do with such time until we can pack up the house. The one good thing Uncle Cyrus said is I should be a teacher. Yep, I'm going to be a teacher.
James, George, well, you can find farmer's work or carpentry work. And Annie, you, Lily, and Eugenia, well, you just have the jobs of being the best behaved children there ever was. Good. And it's all settled.
I reckon it won't be long now before we be asked to mosey on out of here to parts unknown.
Uncle Billy, you talking to riddles.
I got your riddles. Riddle me this. What's the school principal going to say when he makes the acquaintance of young Ida B. Wells, who has the best teacher references ever presented in Tippah County.
He's going to say, "Welcome to our school, Miss Wells," naturally.
Well, that would be the natural thing to say to a young lady who's newly hired. But when he sees a little 60-year-old girl with ponytails and ribbons, he won't be none too pleased. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he got the right Reverend Mosley to make an example out of me and your granny for perpetrating the fraud. I expect soon after we be expected to pack up and move away for the shame.
You were saying, Uncle?
Well, allow me, Ida dear, you look like...
I look like a proper young woman of 18 or 20. What did you say?
Indeed. Miss Wells, I'm glad we finally have the opportunity to talk now.
I'm much obliged for you for coming to my classroom. I would have gladly come to your office.
You say that, Miss Wells, but I've summoned you to my office before now. You've found one excuse after another to avoid having a discussion.
My apologies for giving you that impression, but I've been so busy writing my students for their exams.
Miss Wells, each teacher has similar duties to yours. We are all busy with the business of running the school. You, however, have taken upon yourself to venture outside of the necessary requisites.
Please, try to understand.
No, 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 you must understand. You have caused a great deal of agitation. You have upset our staunchest patrons. You have said things to the students that are better left unsaid. You have led the children in your class to believe that they are somehow
believe that they are not inferior to anyone. That they can be doctors or lawyers or anything they choose.
This is your final warning, Miss Wells. If you cannot abide by the rules, we'll have to replace you.
Children, we Negroes are not only brilliant and gifted mathematicians, farmers, and entrepreneurs, but we are also of the Gentile race. This is why we were brought so easily from the continent of Africa and dispersed along foreign shores. We were so trusting of the white man that he stole us and gathered us up like cattle. They beat us into submission, shackled us up in irons, and shoveled our weary bodies onto ships, packing us in like sardines. You see, children, the white man is jealous of our beauty. He wants to breathe us in and possess us. He laughs and puts on pointy-tipped cloths of clown white cloth, freshly laundered sheets. He rides through the night, breath soaked in whiskey and southern bourbon. He rides with rope and matches. He gathers the wives and the children and the townsfolk from the best families to watch the night show, hoisting us up in the air like his puppets from the Punch and Judy show. Hang 'em high! They too have a religious fervor. They burn crosses on our farms, our homes with us inside. I surely wish I could gather up all our people in my arms and take them away from savage Tennessee.
My first work as an activist came about through an organic process. It was a natural evolution from being an investigative journalist. As editor of the Free Speech, I reported facts about Negroes being lynched that were either not reported or condoned when written about in white newspapers. Why do you believe Negroes have stopped riding a city railway car?
We've been told your people were afraid of electricity.
When did the decrease begin?
About 6 weeks ago.
It's been about 6 weeks since 3 of our fine Negro businessmen were lynched. No one has been punished or arrested.
Why don't the colored people just go out and find the guilty ones?
There is a strong belief among us that the criminal court judge himself was one of the lynchers.
Now, you go too far, madam.
It was not even reported in the Shelby County Sentinel.
You are mistaken. There was some mention. I read it for myself.
A reporter spoke to Mrs. Edna Brewster, the owner of the women's millinery shop in the Curb area located where the incident occurred. She said it was her opinion that the colored gentlemen got what they deserved and was delighted that her youngsters were able to witness this most special event. It was not so stated that a fine, upstanding American citizen, church-going, respected father of 2 were lynched.
As I understand it, these men were lynched by a mob that had been drinking.
No, sir, you are mistaken.
Well, now, let's not be discussing this terrible thing. After all, there doesn't seem to be anything you or I can do about it. What's past is best to be forgotten. Now, getting to the issue, I come back, the Negro railway passengers. We hope that you will do what you can to help by putting some words of encouragement in your little paper there. When we installed electricity at a cost of thousands of dollars last fall, Negro labor got a large share in wages. Besides, the streetcar company had nothing to do with the lynchings. It's owned by Northern capitalists.
And run by Southern lynchers. Good day.
Hello, darling. Yes. It's good to see you, too. Thank you. Isn't it lovely? Perfect. How are you? It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming. Well, thank you all. Mr. Wilson.
Ah, good day to you, Miss Purchase.
Good evening, Mr. Wilson. I have been awaiting your arrival to show you my recent literary acquisition. Thank you. I hope you don't mind me asking, but you're not seriously courting Ida Wells.
I am very fond of Ida, and am hopeful that she returns my affections.
You must have experienced by now how easily she returns affections.
Ida is a refined lady of intellect. We have, of course, been in the company of others. When we go out walking, Ida has always insisted on being chaperoned.
You poor dear. Don't you know why Ida insisted on keeping her siblings at home?
Because she was...
So she can live on in town and be mistress of the manor.
Miss Wells was very courageous to take on the responsibility of caring for her brothers and sisters until her kinfolk arrived.
Ida's grandmother and uncle came to try to rescue their family's reputation. How do you suppose Ida had the money to keep her household up for weeks until her kin arrived? Why do you think she distanced herself from the Masons? You must be about the only one in town who doesn't know about your scarlet Jezebel.
Good day to you, Miss Purchase.
John, everyone knows about it. Ida's been getting money from white men. That house may as well be a bordello. Elizabeth, darling, that dress is divine. Come, darling.
John, thank you for inviting me. This house is exquisite.
I believe it is time for us to depart.
I only just arrived. I'd like to get some punch and pastry.
I insist.
How outrageous. You have forgotten your manners.
Is that so?
Sir, what is wrong with you? I'm not used to being manhandled.
I am told that you are keen on being manhandled. It has been said that, in fact, that you have been in consulting with white men and are in the procurement business. It seems I am the last to know. What a foolish pup I've been. At least your parents are dead and took their good name to the grave, but now I'm ruined through our association.
All these evenings we've been courting, you have come to know nothing about me. This is unfortunate. So you believe after you have taken me home, after we have gone out, after I have allowed you to deposit me on my porch, kiss me farewell, that I have welcomed myself a contingent of white men and allowed myself to be procured. Just how was I to have accomplished this while living in Memphis at Miss Herschel's home for girls? On the weekday, I teach my pupils. On the weeknights, I prepare their lessons. On the weekends, I travel on a mule for 2 hours to get home. So you suppose I arrive home with my younger brother and sister inside, Granny and Uncle Billy. I fling open my back door and welcome a contingent of white men. You was so physically handsome in appearance. And I thought you'd have a fine intellect, too. I'm glad I have found out what a moronic imbecile you are.
You were seen asking white men for money. I didn't believe it because it seemed absurd and I was smitten.
There are people who go about living their lives thinking vile thoughts and spreading malicious rumors. I did get money from a white gentleman. He was the doctor who tended to the yellow fever patients, including my father, before he died. I asked Dr. Gray to deliver $300 my father gave him for safekeeping before he passed away. No doubt some small-minded individuals overheard our conversation.
Oh, Ida, dear, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
Good night, Mr. John Wilson. I do hope you shall have no difficulty recovering your reputation. Good night. I saw him once again after that night, but I never spoke to him again. But the memory of him on his knees begging me, crying for forgiveness, reminds me of the time I was on the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad in Memphis, headed back to school in Shelby. I seated myself in ladies' coach, as was my custom. The conductor approached me and he requested my ticket.
Ticket, please. Oh, no, no, no. I can't take this ticket here. Gal, you need to move ahead to the forward car so the white gentleman who just boarded can have your seat.
I do not wish to move forward. My ticket is clearly for this first-class car. The forward car is full of smokers. I have no wish to be seated in a smoke-filled area.
You all don't get to ride in first class anymore. Now go on, get it.
He was referring to the new Jim Crow laws. I pretended ignorance and refused to budge. He grabbed me both by my shoulders. I pulled away. He grabbed onto my arm, and I dug my teeth into his hand, and he yelled out, "Ah!"
This nigga gal just gone and bit me.
The white gentleman, he just stood back and watched. And the other white passengers, they said, "Get off the train, nigga gal! Get that girl off the train!" When surmising that I might end up with a sore rump and losing all the corn I had left, I conceded to get off, and I did so at the next stop. Now, I engaged a colored lawyer to bring lawsuit against the railroad. Well, after many months of delay, I realized that he had been bought off. So I had to engage a white lawyer. Our case was finally brought to circuit court, and I was awarded $500 in damage. And the Memphis Daily Appeal read,
Darcy Damsel obtains a verdict for damages against the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. What it cost to put a colored school teacher in a smoking car. Verdict for $500.
I won $500, but the appeal and the ruling was overturned, so I had to file for an appeal. Well, the appeal was dropped, but I was introduced to Ferdinand Barnett, a powerhouse attorney who had discussed strategy and came to know all about me. Now, we were very interested in justice and fair hearings for Afro-Americans. Our mutual interest blossomed into much more. Now, there were two men in my life who were so dear to me. Ferdinand Barnett. Oh, yes. Dear Frederick Douglass, it seems that my departure from Chicago to England was a bit hasty. I am requesting that you furnish me with a letter of recommendation. My host here in Somersetshire believes a letter from you will carry a lot of weight and be my entree into the House of Lords. Respectfully, Ida B. Wells.
Dear Ida B. Wells, I see you are already advertised as accredited to England by me. You have gone abroad and been embraced by British society and have been paraded in the press. The Daily Chronicle London says Wells is enormously appealing and racially odd. She claims relationships with the Red Indian, the Negro, and the Anglo-Saxon races. She's under 30 years of age, very vivacious in manner, and a decidedly good-looking mulatto dressed in uncommonly good taste. The British press have commented on your beauty. No doubt you find this intoxicating. I would say you have strayed from your purpose. Meanwhile, you have involved yourself in a dalliance of illicit intrigue. I have received the most disturbing letter in this regard from a very credible source. A request has been made that you disassociate yourself with this person, yet you are still consorting with this woman of questionable repute, Frederick Douglass.
It was true that my hostess, Miss Catherine Impey, professed her love to a colored gentleman, our mutual friend, while we were planning my anti-lynching campaign. And I was told to sever all ties to her, but I am not easily swayed from my loyalties. Ida B. Wells.
Dear Ida, perhaps you feel you might take up permanent residence in England, where no doubt you regale amongst those taken by your raven beauty. Frankly speaking, I question your motives. Frederick Douglass.
Dear Frederick Douglass, I am attempting to have legislation against lynchings. I am here for my people. This is my sole purpose. With all the discouragements I have received, I have never felt so much like giving up. Since receiving your very cool and cautious letters, Ida B. Wells.
Dear Ida, will you oblige me by telling me frankly who invited you to spend 3 months in England and what assurances they gave you of support while on this mission? I do not wish to be involved in frivolous escapades. I am told your financial support has been withdrawn. Frederick Douglass.
Dear Frederick Douglass, as to your comments that I have been involved in a dalliance, this is absurd. The so-called dalliance involving Miss Captain Impey is an unfortunate misunderstanding. It is because she heard a speech that I gave in Washington, D.C., that a meeting that you arranged, and I am here. My breeding and loyalty prevent me from discussing the very explicit details. Respectfully, Ida B. Wells.
Dear Ida, you borrowed $25 from me on your journey abroad. There is no end to the bad reputation that you receive here, describing you as a huckster who promotes anti-lynching for your personal gain. Now, I question my estimation of you, my dear. I know the temptation that comes with the trappings of high society. I, too, was thrown into society, the most pure, enlightened, and benevolent that these United States of America affords. The transition from degradation to respectability is indeed great. And to get from one to the other without carrying the scars of one's former condition is truly a difficult matter. We were all raped, men and women. Old and young, married and single were valued with horses, sheep, and swine. But you, Ida, who have never lived through such degradation, can easily forget from whence you come. Frederick Douglass.
Dear Frederick, Miss Catherine Impey is prominent among British citizens fighting for human rights. If it had not been for our fortuitous meeting, I should never have been here. She is the editor of the news journal, The Anticast. I will appeal to the House of Lords to bring the American government accountable for its hypocrisy. Ida B. Wells.
Dear Ida, you have presented yourself at the home of Ellen Richardson, the very lady who purchased my dear freedom. What are you playing at? You will kindly refrain from using my name to acquire finances and societal status. Frederick Douglass.
Dear Frederick, I hardly know what to say. I'm finding it incapable of forming the words to express. I feel like my heart was shattered to a million pieces. You accuse me of using your name to gain celebrity abroad. How little you think of me after all. I have not come on a pleasure cruise. I have come for my people. I have come for my godchildren, now fatherless, because their father were hung among 3 gentlemen in Memphis. I have heard the details of my grandmother being stripped and beaten till bloody. I have applied ointment to her scars. I do not take freedom for lightly or for granted. I have had the profound honor of being acquainted with the woman who purchased your freedom. My mission is as true as it ever was. Am I not the same one you wish well?
That such disdain should come from my own mentor is unbearable. You are one whom I admire above all men and a cherished friend. It hurts that you doubt me. I had not thought to ask you for a letter of introduction before my departure here because it never occurred to me that I would need one. As ever, your steadfast friend, Ida B. Wells.
There are 2 men in my life whom I am eternally grateful. Ferdinand Barnett, who swept me off my feet and gave me a taste of unconditional love. Frederick Douglass, my mentor, my hero, and friend. He is our greatest man indeed. He and I were able to mend our differences. However, I cannot say the same for Miss Susan B. Anthony. The 3 of us were having a meeting at her lovely home, and I excused myself momentarily.
Mrs. Barnett, Mr. Douglas has just taken his leave. He asked me to bid you farewell. In truth, I believe I have made him angry.
Really? I have never seen Frederick angry.
Nor I. We were discussing the next protest rally for the Southern women, and as you know, Frederick has been at every protest since the beginning. As it is the South, and my first alliance is to these women, I have asked Frederick not to appear.
I am sure you are concerned he be made to feel special and respected then.
In point of fact, it was a request that I not have any color in my delegation. I received a letter from the Georgia suffragist president. It had a dozen signatures from the leaders of Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Virginia. I see by your expression that you do not agree with my decision.
You have allied yourself with the most deplorable practice of Southern oppression.
I wish to spare Frederick and you the degradation that
You
Southerners
finally asked Frederick not to attend the Southern rallies, huh? You've been sidestepping this issue for some time.
You believe I'm wrong.
You said hence, every discrimination against women in the Constitution and the laws of the several states are today null and void, precisely as is every discrimination against Negroes.
Frederick just quoted that same speech. I hope it had as profound an impact on its intended audience.
Those who know Frederick attends all the suffragist conventions, they'll say that you have compromised to be esteemed among your new Southern contingent.
I Don't Frederick will be the topic. And you have made it very clear that you do not wish to travel to the south.
I am unwelcome in the South where they have threatened to lynch me. You give credence to the belief of segregationists when you allow them to dictate that your movement cannot include niggers. Isn't that how it's put to you, Susan? I have detected a peculiar tone in your voice today.
Oh, whatever do you mean, Mrs. Barnett?
You refer to me as Mrs. Barnett. Though before I married Ferdinand, you always called me Ida. And since the time my daughter Alfreda began speaking, you have stopped calling our home. You seem like you have some resentment towards me.
Ida, you have disappointed me. There's no denying it.
Why? Are you against marriage?
I'm not against marriage for ordinary women, but you have made a life choice that divides your focus. I too have had offers of marriage, but I chose to dedicate my life to the suffragist movement. You had a special calling, but now...
Now that I am a wife and mother, I have to fight harder to make this world a better place for my children.
Ida, we can continue this discussion after the rally. We should get to our places. Find your way to the colored section. We'll begin our march in a few minutes.
As you wish.
I don't understand.
I'm fine-tuning my focus. It occurs to me that our movement might be seen as ridiculed by observers if the Afro-American ladies continue to march in the rear of our protest lines.
Our rallies have been successful.
I'm sure you concur that our movement might be seen as lacking pure convictions. We are in Washington, D.C. now. We are not in the South. It is hypocritical to demand voters' rights one color at a time.
Well spoken. We have a newspaper clipping of you in that suffragist march. That took guts to confront a woman such as Susan B. Anthony. I have never been afraid to fight. I would sometimes talk to God about what some men thought of his as behavior unbecoming to a lady. My diaries have many entries asking God to subdue my iron will and my penchant for acquiring beautiful possessions. Susan B. Anthony was correct in saying that I had a special calling in life. I pitied her for not recognizing that the right man would only be supportive of goals that meet with his beloved's divine purpose. Such a man was Mr. Ferdinand Barnett.
Is this your hope chest line? I imagine it was filled with lovely lace and fine china.
Yes, Bernie. Fine china and blue lace, which represents the hope for our future children, that they should never receive harm or bitter hatred.
Thanks to you, our children will know of lynch mobs. This is for you, Ida. The wedding gift.
The conservative?
You are now the new owner and editor of my newspaper. You have a voice that needs to be heard, a fire that burns and cannot be suffocated. I knew that the only way for our marriage to make you happy was to allow you to be the Ida I first met as a journalist.
Ferdinand, you are a rare species. I'm just so overwhelmed.
I did not marry you to restrain you, I did. I don't expect you to be an ordinary housewife that tends to the cooking and washing.
I am glad of that, my love. Because as much as I wish they were, household chores and cooking are not my strong suit.
My mother will stay on here and continue raising my two sons and help supervise the household duties. I'm just thankful that you all get along together.
I'm sure I would love your sons and daughters like they were my own.
You were making such a ruckus. I feared you'd become a permanent exile. Each time I read a news report about the American Negress meeting with Parliament, I thought to myself, how am I to compete with that? What could I do to compel Ida to come home and marry me?
Well, if you wish, I can sign a paper back to you. In all honesty, my funds from my anti-lynching campaign have been depleted. Therefore, I had no choice but to return.
It is clear that you do not have to return to this oppressed society that is America.
And what of my promise to marry you, Mr. Turner? Would you not have sued me for breach of promise?
And that it would take a very logical and calculated man to approach you. But I am filled with desire beyond this.
Really? So you are stirring an unknown emotion inside me now?
That's so hard. So let's let the honeymoon begin.
That is so romantic.
Yeah, very romantic. But I must continue my calling and fight for our people. And now that's why I'm in the Senate race. I sure would be awfully glad if you would consider joining me to assist.
I'd be honored, but I'm surprised that you would consider me worthy, especially since I don't know much about politics.
You put yourself in my hands for a few months, and you'll be a force to be reckoned with. You must be vigilant, Bertha. Very vigilant.
What a distinguished looking gentleman. And he's wearing your campaign button.
He's not only wearing my button, but he's wearing my heart as